Researchers just ran the most thorough protein study ever done, and the results are wild. For 60 years, you have been told that eating too much protein will kill you slowly. Your doctor believed it. Your parents repeated it. Your school nurse printed it on handouts. But a landmark review just tore through 6 decades of published science on this exact question. They were not chasing, they were hunting for actual truth buried inside real data. And what they found completely flips everything you thought you knew about protein and health. So, before you throw out your protein powder, stay here because this changes everything completely. The claim against protein is not new. It has been circulating quietly since the 1960s. Academic papers warned about it. Magazines ran scary headlines about it every few years consistently, and the story always went the same way every single time it came back around. Too much protein will destroy your kidneys slowly. It will pull calcium straight out of bones. It will push you toward type 2 diabetes and wreck your metabolic health from inside out. And worst of all, it will shorten. That was the claim scaring everyone for decades. Now hearing this once is easy to dismiss. But it kept coming back from authority figures everywhere. Doctors repeated it. Family dinners were full of it. Health classes taught it as established fact. And because it came from people in authority, most people believed it without ever asking for proof. That is exactly what these researchers finally decided to do. They went looking for the actual proof. They reviewed over 60 years of published scientific literature, all focused on high-protein diets specifically. They looked at real human data, long-term studies, large populations, decades worth of actual outcomes. Then they rated every single piece of evidence on how strong and reliable it actually was. Was the evidence consistent across multiple studies? Or did one old paper keep getting recycled endlessly? Were the studies long enough to actually mean something? Or just a few short weeks long? Did researchers control for total calorie intake and body weight? Because without that, the data means nothing. Here is what nobody talks about loudly enough. The case against protein was found to be weak, inconsistent, largely unconvincing. That is what 60 years of science actually showed, when examined carefully together. Now let us walk through each fear one by one, because every single one deserves a real answer. The first big fear has always been about kidneys. Protein will destroy your kidneys, people keep saying. And here is where it gets interesting, because there is actually a small truth buried inside that fear. When you eat more protein, your kidneys do work harder. Your filtration rate goes up measurably. But here is what the fear merchants always forget to mention when they tell this scary story. That response is completely normal. It is exactly like your heart beating faster during a hard workout. Your kidneys are simply adapting to the workload. That is not damage. That is just normal biology. And when protein intake drops back down, kidney filtration returns to baseline perfectly and without any issue. More importantly, none of these studies showed any long-term decline in actual kidney function at all. We are talking 60 years of research across millions of people. If protein was quietly destroying kidneys, we would have seen the damage showing up in blood work and scans across massive populations worldwide. And we simply have not seen that anywhere. The data does not support the kidney destruction story at all. One important note before moving forward. If you already have diagnosed kidney disease, this conversation changes completely. The research showing protein is safe applies specifically to people with healthy functioning kidneys right now today. But if you are a healthy adult, protein is not hurting your kidneys. The evidence is clear. Now let us talk about bones. The story goes like this. Protein is acidic. Acid leaches calcium out. That calcium gets urinated away. Your bones lose density slowly. And osteoporosis quietly sets in over time. It sounds logical. It follows a chain of reasoning that is very easy to understand and believe. But it falls apart completely the moment you test it against what actually happens in real human bodies. Your gut buffers what you eat. The acidic load from protein never actually reaches your bones directly. And more importantly, amino acids are anabolic. They do not break down bone. They actually help. The cells that build new bone are called osteoblasts. Amino acids literally help those cells do their job properly. They stimulate bone growth. They support bone repair. They are the raw material that bone-building cells need. And when researchers looked at long-term data across hundreds of thousands of people over decades of follow-up, higher protein intake was associated with neutral or even positive effects on bone density. Not harmful. Positive. That is the complete opposite of what the popular narrative has been claiming for decades now. Think about that. 2 fears cleared. Now we come to the one that confuses people the most: diabetes and metabolic risk. Here is where the data looks genuinely scary on the surface if you do not look carefully enough. If you study large populations and measure protein intake, you will find a real and visible correlation there. People eating the most protein do tend to have worse metabolic outcomes and higher rates of type 2 diabetes. And if you stop your analysis right there, you would walk away thinking protein causes diabetes. Case closed. But stopping there is exactly the mistake these researchers spent their careers warning other scientists never to make. Here is what nobody talks about. What happens when you control for total calories and body weight specifically? The entire association disappears. Not weakens, not shrinks. It completely vanishes from the data without any trace left, and that tells you something incredibly important about what was actually driving that scary correlation all along consistently. It was not the protein. It was the calories. It was the body fat. It was the excess weight. People who are significantly overweight eat more of everything. More carbs, more fat, more protein, more of everything. So, of course, the heaviest people with the worst metabolic health also happen to eat the most protein. They eat the most of everything. That does not mean protein caused their metabolic problems in any way. Think about diet soda for a second. Studies show diet soda drinkers tend to be heavier consistently across research. Does that mean diet soda causes obesity? Obviously not. Heavier people drink diet soda trying to lose weight. The weight came first. The soda came second. The correlation looks real, but the causation is completely backwards. Same exact logic applies to protein and diabetes in every observational study people keep citing as solid proof. And here is the part that should really excite anyone trying to lose weight and improve their health genuinely. When researchers ran controlled trials where protein was actually increased deliberately, results showed better blood sugar control consistently. Protein in a calorie-controlled diet actually shows anti-diabetic effects. It helps your metabolism. It does not harm it. 3 fears down. Now we come to the one carrying the most emotional weight behind it. Longevity. Is high protein intake literally shortening your life? Are you trading actual years of living for looking good? This fear has more sophisticated scientific backing than the others, which is exactly why it deserves real attention now. There are biological mechanisms in rodent studies suggesting protein could activate pathways associated with faster aging over time. Specifically something called mTOR, a growth signaling pathway that researchers study closely in aging and longevity science. In animal models, restricting certain nutrients, including protein, has sometimes extended lifespan under very specific controlled conditions. Those studies exist. The mechanism is genuinely interesting science. Stay with me, because this next part changes. Those findings have not translated into human populations in any convincing way. Not even close to convincing, actually. When researchers followed actual human beings eating high-protein diets over years, the longevity data tells a different story. We have followed enormous numbers of people over long periods, and collected detailed data on exactly what we know how much protein they consumed over years and decades. And the results are genuinely clear now. The people eating the most protein are not dying sooner. The data simply does not show it happening. When body weight and total calorie intake are properly accounted for, high protein intake does not reduce measurable life. The mechanism that sounded so compelling in a rodent study simply did not hold up in actual real humans. You are not a yeast cell. You are not a mouse. Decades of human data keep confirming this consistently. Now here is what this actually means for someone who trains hard and genuinely cares about their long-term health. The safety envelope around protein is much wider than most people have ever been told to believe before. Researchers ran months-long studies where participants ate up to 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight daily. Someone weighing 200 pounds eating 400 grams of protein every single day for months straight consistently. Liver function was normal. Kidney function, blood lipids were normal. No adverse health markers anywhere. Not a single warning signal across any major health category. And critically, no directional worsening of any marker over time. When something is genuinely harmful, you typically see a clear direction. Blood work moves toward worse over months consistently. With protein, researchers are not even seeing that directionality. No trend toward harm, no slow deterioration in anything measurable. And on top of the safety story, the performance benefits of higher protein are not even remotely controversial anymore. Higher protein preserves lean muscle while losing fat, supports greater muscle gains with training, speeds up recovery between sessions, increases satiety so you naturally eat less overall, stabilizes blood sugar between meals, improving energy, focus, and mood daily. Write this down. A macronutrient that is safe at high doses and actively beneficial for body composition and metabolism. And for 60 years, people have been scared away from it by studies that could not hold up under scrutiny. Here is the bottom line for every healthy adult who trains and genuinely cares about their body and health. Eating around 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is not only safe, it is genuinely beneficial for you. You are not destroying your kidneys. You are not weakening your bones. You are not cutting your life short. The 60-year fear narrative has been examined under the most rigorous scientific lens ever applied to this question. And it did not survive that examination. Not in the kidney data. Not in the bone data. Not in longevity. The science that scared people away from protein for generations turns out to be largely conjecture, not confirmed fact. Real human data collected over decades across massive populations keeps pointing toward the same clear and empowering conclusion consistently. Protein is not your enemy. It never was. And now you have the peer-reviewed literature to... The next time someone tells you all that protein is going to hurt you, just smile and keep eating. Because the science is finally, clearly, and definitively on your side. Now go get your protein. You have earned